Hey, warrior, pause. In that split second before your eyes open, you are no one, and therefore, you can be anyone. That breath is the real you. Everything after it is the story you rehearse. Today, we tear up that script. For the next 45 minutes, we're not chasing motivation. We're doing battlefield medicine. Like this video, comment, "I choose me," and subscribe if you're done spectating your life. Breathe in, you are not your past. Breathe out, you are not your thoughts. Repeat softly, "I choose to live, not just exist." Now, let's enter the arena.
You're not depressed. You're domesticated. Listen carefully. You are not broken. You're just a wild thing living inside a cage you helped build. Think about this. Wolves don't get depressed in the forest. Eagles don't question their purpose mid-flight. They simply live. But zoo animals, pacing, plucking feathers, losing their wild rhythm, they're not sick. They're reacting perfectly to captivity. You've been living the same way, waking up to alarms that rip you from dreams, eating because it's lunchtime, not because you're hungry, forcing your body into hours of productivity even when your spirit begs for stillness. You've been trained, conditioned, civilized, and it's killing your aliveness. The Stoic Diogenes lived in a barrel, owned nothing, and told Alexander the Great, "Stand out of my sunlight." That wasn't arrogance, it was freedom. He refused to be tamed by expectations, status, or comfort. You don't have to live in a barrel, but you must ask yourself, what parts of my life are truly mine, and which ones are borrowed from others' scripts? Tomorrow morning, do one thing that defies your domestication. Sing off-key while cooking breakfast. Take a cold shower without flinching. Drive a different route. Do something absurd that makes your soul smirk. That flicker you'll feel inside, that's your wildness remembering itself. You are not lazy. You are not unmotivated. You are an untamed being trying to breathe through a system built for obedience. The depression, the numbness, the fatigue, those are symptoms of captivity. And every time you choose authenticity over approval, a bar of your cage bends a little. Whisper to yourself tonight before you sleep, "I choose aliveness over approval."
Number 2. The addiction nobody talks about. Your addiction to suffering. You're addicted, warrior. Not to pleasure, not to power, but to pain. Not because you like it, but because it's familiar. It's the only thing that's been constant long enough to feel like home. You wake up every morning and sip your suffering like coffee, a routine disguised as survival. But here's the truth. Your pain has become your identity. It's your excuse, your armor, and your safety net. You say things like, "I've always struggled," or "I'm not built for that," and you believe it. Those aren't reflections, they're declarations. You've mistaken endurance for destiny. The Stoic Crates once lost everything in a shipwreck and said, "Fortune wants me to philosophize with fewer distractions." That wasn't delusion, that was power. The decision not to turn suffering into a story, but into strength. You've done the opposite. You've built an altar to your wounds, and you visit it daily. Every replayed failure, every relived betrayal, it's worship. You say you want freedom, but freedom requires letting go of the identity that keeps you comfortably miserable. So let's test it. For one full day, don't mention your struggles. Not out loud, not in your mind. Notice how naked that feels. That discomfort is withdrawal. You're detoxing from an addiction you didn't know you had. Try replacing "why me" with "what now?" Replace "I'm broken" with "I'm healing." Replace "I'm lost" with "I'm learning." You are not your wounds. You are the warrior who survived them. You are not your pain. You are the strength it forged. Say it quietly. I am done feeding my pain. I am ready to feed my power.
3. The invisible cage of potential. You feel it, don't you? That pressure in your chest that whispers you were meant for more. But instead of acting on it, you've built a shrine around it, your potential. You protect it like treasure, polish it, talk about it, dream about it, but never spend it. Here's the brutal truth. Unused potential doesn't stay pure. It decays. It leaks into your thoughts as anxiety, into your body as restlessness, into your heart as regret. You are not protecting your gift. You are suffocating it. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." 2 steps, that's it. But you've been trapped in step 1 for years because deep down you're terrified of discovering your limits. You'd rather fantasize about greatness than risk failing at it. You say, "I'm preparing," but preparation has become your prison. You say, "I'm waiting for the right time," but time isn't waiting for you. You say, "I'll start when I'm ready," but readiness is a myth. Listen carefully. You are not afraid of being bad at life. You're afraid of being great at the wrong life. You're afraid that after all the climbing, you'll reach the peak and realize you scaled the wrong mountain. So you stay in the valley, endlessly planning your ascent. Stop. You don't need to protect your potential. You need to exhaust it. Burn it until there's nothing left to hide behind. Do something today that terrifies you in public. Fail spectacularly. Post your imperfect art. Speak before your voice stops shaking. Act before the world gives you permission. The Stoics didn't fear failure. They feared inaction. They believed that potential unspent was a moral tragedy. You've been a spectator in your own story long enough. Say it now, not softly, but like you mean it. I am ready to be real, not perfect.
4. The permission you're still waiting for. Let's be honest. You've been waiting. Waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. Okay to change paths, to start over, to want more,
to walk away. You call it patience, but it's permission-seeking in disguise. Here's the truth that will sting first and free you later. No one is coming. Not your parents, not your boss, not your partner, not the universe. The permission you're waiting for doesn't exist outside you. Epictetus taught that the only thing truly within your control is paralysis, your faculty of choice. Everything else, praise, approval, outcomes, it's noise. But you've outsourced your choice to the world. You've made your decisions hostage to other people's comfort. You say, "I'll start when I'm ready." Ready for what? You say, "I need the right time." What time is that exactly? You say, "I just want support first." From whom? You keep your answers vague so you can keep your excuses intact. You've been trained to equate permission with safety, to believe that validation equals value. But look around. The people you admire, the creators, the builders, the warriors, none of them waited to be told, "You may begin." They decided they were allowed. That's the difference between living and existing. And yes, it will feel terrifying. You'll feel like an imposter. You'll question yourself. That's the cost of freedom, uncertainty. But uncertainty is proof that you're finally leading yourself. So here's your practice. Write down 3 things you've been waiting for permission to do. Next to each one, write whose approval you've been waiting for. Then, cross it out. Underneath, write, "I authorize myself." That's your signature of liberation. Because the only permission that ever mattered was your own. Say it out loud, like a vow. I give myself permission to begin.
5. The grief nobody sees. There's a grief that hides behind your smiles. One that no one can name because it doesn't look like loss. You're not mourning a person. You're mourning a version of yourself that never got to live. There's no funeral for the person you could have been. No eulogy for the dreams you quietly buried under logic and fear. No condolences for the life you settled into while convincing yourself it was fine. But the Stoics knew this kind of pain. They called it apatheia, not the absence of emotion, but freedom from emotions that destroy us. They didn't say not to feel grief. They said to feel it completely, so it doesn't consume you. What you're carrying isn't depression. It's unprocessed mourning. You're grieving the version of you that believed life would be extraordinary, the one who hadn't yet learned how to shrink, how to settle, how to surrender. That person died slowly, not from tragedy, but from repetition, from every maybe later, every be realistic, every what will people think. You buried them one compromise at a time. But here's the truth. They don't need resurrection. They need recognition. You need to say goodbye properly, not with bitterness, but with honor. So tonight, write a eulogy for that version of you. Say, I grieve the dreamer in me who believed anything was possible. I grieve the fearless one who loved without hesitation. I grieve the idealist who thought they could change everything. Thank you for carrying me this far. Now I will carry the lessons, not the loss. Feel the release. That ache in your chest, that's the grief leaving its disguise. Because healing isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about feeling fully, so you can live freely. When the tears dry, whisper this truth. I honor who I was, but I'm ready to become who I am.
6. The noise you mistake for thinking. Your mind has become a crowded room you never leave. Voices echo, doubt, regret, anxiety, overanalysis, each competing to be heard. You call it thinking, but it's not. It's just mental noise. You mistake the narrator in your head for the real you. That voice that says, you're behind, you're not enough, they don't care. That isn't truth, it's commentary. It's your mind doing what minds do, producing thoughts the way lungs produce breath. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. But what he didn't mean was to believe every thought. He meant notice them, question them, choose the color. Right now, listen, actually listen to what your mind is saying. Maybe it's criticizing, maybe it's worrying, maybe it's replaying an old embarrassment. That's not insight, that's the same broken record you've been playing for years. The Stoics practiced something radical, cognitive distance. They trained themselves to say, I am noticing the thought that I am worthless, instead of, I am worthless. That small space between you and the thought, that's freedom. That's where the real you lives. You're not the voice, you are the awareness hearing it. You are not the storm, you are the sky it passes through. Try this tonight. Sit in silence for 1 minute. Don't chase your thoughts, don't fight them. Just notice them passing, like clouds moving across the horizon. Some dark, some light, none permanent. This is how you reclaim your peace, not by silencing your mind, but by refusing to obey it. Because once you realize that thoughts are suggestions, not commandments, you stop reacting and start responding. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness beneath them. The storm ends when you stop dancing with the wind.
7. The choice you make every morning. Every morning, you wake up, and without realizing it, you make a choice. Not with words, but with energy. You choose to become the same person you were yesterday. You choose the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same story. And then you wonder why life never changes. The Stoics called this paralysis, the conscious act of choosing your inner state. Marcus Aurelius began each day reminding himself, today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, arrogance, treachery, selfishness, and unkindness. He wasn't being pessimistic. He was preparing his mind to choose calm before chaos arrived. You can do the same. You can decide who you will be before the world decides it for you. When you wake up tomorrow, Before you reach for your phone, before your mind starts screaming the same script, pause, breathe, and ask, who do I want to be today? Not someday, not when life gets easier, today. And then make one choice that aligns with that answer. One small act that belongs to the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. Because repetition is how identity is built. Every thought, every decision, every morning, another brick in the house of who you are. And if you keep building with the materials of the past, you'll keep living in yesterday's walls. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." He didn't mean dream, he meant decide. Decide who you are, and then prove it through action. You are not stuck. You are simply loyal to an old version of yourself. And loyalty to what's killing your peace is not virtue, it's sabotage. So when the sun rises and that first thought tries to pull you back into old patterns, stop. Look at it, smile gently, and whisper, "Not today. I'm choosing consciously." Because every day is a fork in the road between who you were and who you could become. And freedom, real freedom, begins the moment you stop living on autopilot.
8. The weight you no longer need to carry. You've been walking with invisible weight on your shoulders. Expectations, regrets, comparisons, guilt. And you've carried it so long that heaviness has started to feel normal. But here's what the Stoics taught. You can't reach inner peace while dragging things that no longer belong to you. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And what he meant was that most of our pain doesn't come from what is, but from what we keep replaying. Old scenes, unsaid words, unfinished battles. You keep reliving moments that no longer exist, feeding ghosts that can't feed you back. Every night, you lie in bed and think of everything you could have done differently. Every morning, you wake up already behind, already apologizing to the past. But tell me this, how can you heal if you never stop bleeding from memories? The Stoics weren't cold, they were clear. They believed that pain was information, not identity, that you learn from it once and then you let it go. The lesson stays, the suffering doesn't have to. So tonight, I want you to try something. Close your eyes and picture everything you're holding that isn't serving you. The resentment, the guilt, the anger, the self-judgment. Imagine putting it all in a box. Seal it. Set it down. Now step forward without it. Notice how light your chest feels, how quiet your mind becomes. That's not fantasy. That's the truth of who you are when you stop carrying what was never meant to be yours forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." But there's one more layer. If it is not yours, don't hold it. Don't live inside stories that aren't real anymore. You can't move into your next chapter if your hands are full of old pages. Forgive, release, begin again. Because freedom doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from letting go of what you don't need.
The final truth. You were never broken. All your life, You've been trying to fix yourself, to fill holes that others carved, to rebuild from pain, to chase worth through achievement, validation, or survival. But what if I told you, you were never broken? What if what you've been calling damage was just growth in disguise? Every scar, every mistake, every lonely night, none of it ruined you. It revealed you. Epictetus was born a slave. His leg was shattered by his master, leaving him permanently crippled. But when his students asked how he endured such cruelty, he said simply, "I am not my body, I am my will." That wasn't denial, that was defiance. He refused to let pain define the limits of who he could become. And neither should you. You keep looking for healing as if it's something you'll one day earn, a reward for finally being perfect, calm, or strong enough. But healing is not a destination. It's a return, a remembering, a homecoming to the self that existed before the world told you who you should be. The Stoics believed that peace doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from aligning with it, accepting that storms will come, people will leave, failures will sting, and yet, beneath all of it, you remain untouched. The observer behind the emotion, the awareness behind the noise, the sky behind the storm. You've never been broken. You've only been becoming. So tonight, as you fall asleep, breathe deeper than usual. Let your shoulders drop. Whisper to yourself not as a mantra, but as a truth you're finally ready to believe. I was never broken. I was always becoming. Let that truth sink into your bones. Let it wash over every memory that once made you ache. Let it rewrite your story. Because the world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the whole one. The one who fell, got up, learned, and kept walking. When you wake up tomorrow, don't rush. Don't check your phone. Just open your eyes, take that sacred breath between sleep and thought, and remember, in that split second before the old story returns, you are free. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I choose to live, not just exist. And if this message spoke to the part of you that still believes in something greater, like this video, share it, subscribe. Because this isn't just another motivational speech. This is a warrior's awakening. The moment you stop surviving and start living. Your next dawn begins now.